Today I'm going to answer a question that I get asked every once in a while. The particular question I was asked recently was, Andrew, now that Joe Biden is president, I don't think that the United States is heading in the right direction. Should I sell everything because of Biden? This is not a question that I'm asked just by folks in the United States. I've been asked this question by people in Mexico, Ukraine, Brazil, places all over the world. Should I sell things because of the new administration? Should I sell my house, sell all my goods, put everything into cash, put everything into crypto, and own nothing? I'm going to tell you what I think. I'm going to tell you what I tell those people right now. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson. Here at Nomad Capitalist, our team of over 30 people and myself help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors who legally want to go where they're treated best. You can learn more at nomadcapitalist.com. And the answer I'm going to give to you, should I sell everything because I don't like the political administration, is going to be based on my own experience. Been to over 100 countries around the world. I've been living overseas for a long time. And my perspective perhaps is a little bit more pragmatic than it was when I lived in the United States, and I didn't have the full grasp of what it means to be a nomad capitalist, to live a global lifestyle. Now, my perspective is I don't judge countries based on single politicians. Now, certainly the fact that a country elects a politician that is perhaps in favor of higher taxes, fewer freedoms, that's a bad sign. But what I look at is cultures in general. It's what I look at when I'm determining if a country that's on the upswing is investable or a good place to live, and it's what I look at when a country is on the downswing. So one person being elected is not going to change my opinion. And as someone who comes from the United States, someone who left, someone who divorced the country for good, I would not be making decisions solely on Joe Biden being elected. Quite frankly, if you're looking at nomad capitalists, I think you could argue that for some of us, Donald Trump did just as much damage, and the press covered that so little because expats in the U.S. are such a tiny, unimportant segment that people think that I'm some kind of communist because I said, well, hold on, Trump did this thing that wasn't actually too friendly for us, or this thing, or whatever. And so it's not about the individual person. Now, here's my perspective. I believe there's a human and a strategic perspective to going offshore. It can't be just entirely based on strategy because whether we want to admit it or not, and I know that a lot of us men, we don't want to admit that we have certain emotions, that we're afraid or that we're reacting emotionally, but that's what this is. Let's be honest, right? We feel that Joe Biden's going to come in and take everything. Remember 12 years ago, Obama's going to take all of your guns? Obama, you're going to be living in a FEMA camp. I'm sorry, guys. I can't do. I'm sure there are things that I believe that people would say are conspiracy theories. I cannot go that far. And if you really believe that, you shouldn't be discussing selling things. You should be on the next flight out and coming to join me in one of these places that I'm living in if you think that they're going to put you in a freaking FEMA camp. My perspective on most Western countries is they are going downhill. And so would I sell everything? My simple answer is it's up to you, and I think you need to be honest with yourself about how much of the feeling of, holy cow, Biden got elected, or whomever I don't like got elected, I've got to get out. How much of that is emotional versus how much of that is, do I really think he's going to take my stuff? And what I see is, not so much with Americans, but with people from emerging cultures, is there will be someone who gets elected who is pretty left-wing, and they'll say, we are concerned about the direction of the country. And in these emerging cultures, there's often, there's more of a disparity. You have people who are successful, they might own 6 different homes. And I'll say, hey, from a tax planning standpoint, since you're leaving your country and you want to stop paying taxes there, and we're going to go to somewhere more friendly, it might be helpful if we sell some of these 6 homes. And they'll be like, well, but that one's the one, I like that one. And then the other one's where we do the horseback riding. And then the other one is where, we go with the kids for Christmas. It's like, listen, if your country's really heading down the tubes and you think prices are going to go down or the government's going to take your houses and there's going to be wealth redistribution, then yeah, you should sell things. But I think that's where an honest gut check is needed. And I'm sure that there are people watching who just want me to say, yes, sell everything. I'm not your personal financial advisor, and I'm not going to be irresponsible enough to say that based on one politician, you should exit. My personal opinion is I sold all of my real estate in the U.S., not because I believe the U.S. government is going to come and take the average person's real estate. They're going to come and take your house. Certainly, I do believe, and I've had it happen to me years and years and years ago in California, where California thought I didn't pay the taxes that I actually did pay the year I lived there, and they double dipped and took more money out and levied my account. I've heard it from multiple people. That kind of stuff happens, and so you do want some exposure outside of your country to protect against that, not because you're trying to run and hide or screw anybody, but just because you want to make sure you can live in case someone makes a fat-fingered error with your account. So I think that's why diversification is important. I have cashed out, and I've talked about I don't invest in Spain, I don't invest in Italy. I do own a few U.S. Stocks, generally funds that are tax-friendly for a non-resident alien like myself, just as part of a balanced equities portfolio. But generally, I invest really nothing directly in the United States. I invest not very much at all indirectly in the United States through things like equity funds. Because I just believe, and the same thing for the UK or countries like that, I just believe that those countries are headed in the wrong direction. I will have a little bit of exposure through funds for balance, and I don't think that Joe Biden is going to come and take my Luxembourg domiciled U.S. value fund in my foreign brokerage account. But I think it just comes down to how bad you really think it's going to be. And here's why I say I think it's important that you have to do a gut check, right? Because when people come to Nomad Capitalist, we have thousands of people every month who want to come and work with us. And obviously we have to draw a line that we help people who are 7, 8 figures and up. It would be nice to help everyone, but we don't have the capacity to. And so what I'll hear is that there's often a disconnect between the fear people have and I think almost just kvetching and ranting and just saying, and just kind of projecting their anger and their frustration and even their fear that a certain politician won onto they're going to start taking everything I have. It's this knee-jerk reaction. And I'm not here, listen, maybe a certain politician is going to take everything you have, and maybe that's the direction things are going, and maybe you're right to ask that question. I'm not trying to make you feel badly or shame you for asking the question, but if you believe that, then the actions need to match it up, because too many times I have the conversation that I just mentioned I had, where it's like, great, well, let's hurry the heck up then. Let's get out. Maybe you want to renounce your citizenship. You want to, let's just move everything. And it's like, well, no, let's start slowly with this. And so then I realized, well, that person really, it's not quite as bad as they say it is. Nothing wrong with having a plan B. There's nothing wrong with saying, I'm going to stay in the U.S., I'm going to keep my U.S. rental properties, or I'm going to stay in Mexico or wherever, and I'm going to keep my assets there. And you know what? Business is good. Let me start putting the new assets somewhere that Nomad Capitalist talks about. Let me get a second passport so I'm ready to move if I have to. Let me get a second residence. Maybe I'll buy a house overseas, but it's not going to be my main residence. Nothing wrong with that at all. And so I think that people should react to whatever it is that they feel. I think people should trust their intuition more. One of the things that I've become more and more successful in business with is trusting my intuition. The times when I say, well, I feel this, but okay, fine, no one agrees with me, I don't do as well. When I trust my gut and I know what's best for myself, I do the best. And so if you think that Biden or AMLO or whomever else is going to take all your stuff, then I would probably listen to that. But then there needs to be a plan on that basis. And so when someone comes to me, I'm going to say, what are your top goals? What are we trying to accomplish? Asset protection plan because AMLO is coming to take everything. Okay, we're moving forward on that objective. And, I think sometimes, fortunately, much less now than before, thanks to how we've improved our process, but sometimes people, they make it all the way to the end of us creating a plan. And I'm saying, great, everything in wherever you live is out the door. Get rid of it. Move it out. And then they don't do anything, or they only do half of it because they really didn't mean everything they said about, being so terrified of Biden. What I hear is so many people who say they think that the new guy they don't like is single-handedly going to take everything are the same people saying, but you know what? I'll leave when things get bad enough. The same ones saying, as bad as things are here, it's still the best country in the world. And with all due respect, people who say that generally have no basis to say it. They maybe have been to a few places, generally speaking. And, there are a few people who've been around and decided the U.S. or whatever country is for them, that's fine. But, I think that gut check is important. And if you believe that the country's going down the tubes, I would focus more on the direction of the country. I'm a big believer in business and in life in velocity. What's the velocity of your country? Joe Biden winning or AMLO winning might contribute, or again, I use them examples, whoever the example is, they might contribute to the velocity of saying, all right, you had a choice. People voted for the guy who wanted to raise taxes on the rich, who wanted to impose a wealth tax, who wanted to, in Spain, they're taking people's homes if you don't use them in some places appropriately. Sure, that's an indication that people want to move in that direction. It shouldn't take Joe Biden to convince you that the United States and most other Western countries like it are moving in a direction that wants to take more people's wealth, especially people who are very successful. They want to blame successful people. They want to blame entrepreneurs. They want to shame. That's the direction. Whether Biden wins or Trump wins for 4 years, there may be a reprieve if Trump wins. But what I've been saying for 4 years is just because Trump won, everyone started to feel, everything's so great now. Our guy won. Nothing can happen to us. And there's this reverse. It's like the opposite. There's this arrogance. Oh, we're untouchable. Trump won. Oh, yeah, really? You think like the Congress became more, you had AOC under Trump. You had all these different people who were gaining power, who were moving the velocity away. Trump was a 4-year reprieve. Or, other right-wing politicians could be reprieve. I see people being too arrogant on one end, and I see them being too afraid on the other end. Look at momentum, look at velocity, do a gut check, figure out what do I really think is going to happen. Who cares if people agree with you? Who cares if I agree with you? If you think that Biden is single-handedly going to be the end of the United States, then yes, I would sell everything. Or insert name of other politician here. Or if you dig deep and you realize, I don't like the guy, but maybe I want to do a more staggered removal that Andrew's talking about, maybe that's what we come to. I think it really has to be your decision, but it has to be one that you make in a logical space. That's what I think the beauty of Nomad Capitalist is it's all about getting into a zone where you can think pragmatically, not in a bubble where you're surrounded by people like you who have the same concerns, but surrounded by people like me and my team and the people that we work with that are living these global lifestyles and can be a bit more pragmatic, looking at things from a distance. I think that's what I would suggest. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.